Good evening, I'm Erin Burnett. Out front tonight, the breaking news: the Supreme Court takes up Trump's case. The nation's highest court tonight saying justices will hear Trump's argument that he has absolute immunity for crimes he allegedly committed in office. In the one-page order, it's just one page, it's very clear to the point, the court writes that this is the key question that they'll answer. Quote, whether and if so, to what extent does a former president enjoy presidential immunity from criminal prosecution for conduct alleged to involve official acts during his tenure in office? Look, nothing matters more than this case before the Supreme Court now. This is a major decision. This one page is a major decision because the court could have simply said that it would not take up the case and simply let the lower court decision stand. Something that would have been totally standard in a case where three judges had ruled unanimously and very narrowly that Trump was not immune. But that is not what the Supreme Court has done tonight. And the bottom line of this ruling, that they're going to hear the case, means delay. The Supreme Court will not even hear the case until the end of April. And that means if the court rules against Trump and the Justice Department's January 6th case against Trump goes ahead, it will begin later. It will begin later, and every day matters in the countdown to Election Day, whether there even is a full trial and a verdict by Election Day. The immunity claim now before the Supreme Court is at the core and the heart of the Justice Department's case against Trump. Because if Trump is immune from prosecution from acts committed while he was president, then Jack Smith's case is over, done. And Trump's lawyers have argued that he is immune from Smith's criminal charges because even if Trump had ordered the military to assassinate a political rival, they say, if he did it while he was president, he couldn't be prosecuted. Of course, the three judges in the scathing rebuke from the lower court rejected Trump's argument. But now the Supreme Court's 9 justices will have the final say. And how the justices decide could have a profound impact on this election. Well, former Trump White House attorney Ty Cobb is standing by. First, though, I want to go to Evan Perez because he's out front live in Washington. Evan, we just get this one page. Many had expected that the court would just not take this up, right? And just let that lower court decision stand. That's not what they've done. What do you know about why? What do you know about how? Obviously, they took their time to make this decision. What do you know?
Right. In this order, Erin, they make clear that they're not making any judgments on the merits of the case. But what we know from this is the fact that it takes 5 justices to grant this stay, which is something that they did. And that means that there's 5 justices who at least are trying to help Donald Trump, or at least agreeing to help buy Donald Trump more time, which is, after all, the entire strategy by the Trump campaign and the legal strategy also by the former president, which is to buy time and to delay both of these trials, both of these federal trials, till after the November election. And so with the fact that the justices took at least 3 weeks to make this decision, they could have made this decision and issued this order any time in the last 3 weeks. They waited this 3 weeks, and they've decided that they're not going to hear oral arguments at least for another couple of months. It tells us that the effort by the Justice Department to try to get this case heard as quickly as possible, because they said this was in the interests of the public, of the nation, for this case to go to trial and for a decision to be rendered. It means that will not happen anytime soon. Now, it's not impossible, but what it means is that, certainly by the analysis of Joan Biskupic, we're looking at a decision from the Supreme Court perhaps in June, and then if you can get a trial restarted, the calendar is extremely crowded by the time Donald Trump becomes presumably the Republican nominee. We should also note, Erin, that the Supreme Court we're still waiting to hear from them on the 14th Amendment challenge in Colorado, right? The ruling by the Colorado Supreme Court. So everyone expects that Donald Trump will win that case. So at this point, we should point out also that the Supreme Court had the option, Erin, to hear this case. If they wanted to take this up, when Jack Smith went to them in December, they decided not to take it up then, but they have now decided that they do want to hear this case.
And that putting the beginning timestamp on this of December, that you're now looking at arguments not being made until April and a decision in June, according to Joan's analysis, that is stunning. A 6-month delay, if you look at it, just the bottom line of it. All right, Evan, thank you very much. As Evan gets more, we're going to go to him. I do want to go to Ty Cobb now, the former Trump White House lawyer. Ty, look, they could have said, let the lower court ruling stand. It was unanimous. It was 3 justices. They took 3 weeks to say that they're not going to do that. They're actually going to hear this case and decide on the merits. Evan laying out that calendar that they could have made that decision in December. This puts a possible, decision in June. Is there any way to see this other than as a win for Trump in his delay strategy?
Well, I think it's certainly favorable to Trump. Whether it's a win. I mean, Trump appealed, as soon as he could. It's the issue of would the Supreme Court take it always haunted everybody, and they had to balance two things: the interest that the D.C. Circuit identified in getting that case to trial, and whether the opinion from the D.C. Circuit was adequate from the Supreme Court's view on the issues that they've now asked to be briefed. And I think probably the most important signal they gave us as to why they granted cert is in the question presented that you read.
Yep.
Is the phrase "to what extent." Because
whether and if so, to what extent does a former president enjoy immunity? Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's where the D.C. Court of Appeals opinion is a little bit light, not because of any error that they made, but that they basically concluded, rightfully so, that the allegations in the indictment were way outside of wherever the line is, and they didn't draw a clear line. I think it's understandable for a Supreme Court, for our Supreme Court, in a case of first impression involving not a, but the foundational principle of the Constitution, which is the separation of powers, would want to, take a shot at trying to draw that line if they can before a former president is tried. However, I'm disappointed. I think it would have been possible for them to let that opinion stand, and we could have gone to trial in advance of the election, which I do think would have been in the interest of the country. But I do think this makes a trial before the election unlikely.
So I guess, look, that's what I wanted to ask you. I mean, it appears to be that that's the bottom line, that if you're not going to have oral arguments till the week of April 22nd, Joan Biskupik was saying that would mean possibly a verdict in June. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but your bottom line is that would mean you would not get, even if that happened and they rule that he's not immune, you would not have a verdict before Election Day.
That's my, well, so there are some, yes, that is in essence my view, but there are some variables there. I mean, there is, so the Justice Department policy that everybody talks about, the so-called 60-day policy,
right?
Doesn't really apply in this circumstance. That's limited to, issuing indictments and opening investigations. There's nothing about a trial in an already scheduled case. So it's conceivable that the case could be set for trial in September, could be set for trial in October, could be set for trial immediately after the election. But I think the likelihood is that it's not going to, certainly in my view, it's not going to go to trial before the election.
And just to be very clear on this, Ty, if they set a date after the election and he wins, he is able to essentially end it.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, no, he would. So, he may have to endure the trial, actually. Because he won't have any powers until January 20th. So he may be forced to endure a trial. I still think that's just unlikely if he's the nominee, and we'll be back up to the Supreme Court on those issues. When does the imposition of the criminal process become too great for a president to endure? Is it only after he takes the office or immediately after he's elected? I think there are issues related to that that I think would further delay the trial.
All right, Ty, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Aaron. Take care. Thanks for having me.
All right.
If it makes you feel any better, I have already put evac on alert. He's ready to go if it comes to that. General, I can assure you.
Hey, General, let me into the war room to see you, so I had to hack my way onto this frequency.
This better be critical, Wheelie.
Sir, come on, what is it now, please? Okay, couple of things. I'm running low on the double. I was thinking about taking a couple of months sick leave, maybe starting today. And, oh yeah. I intercepted a transmission from Megatron.
Then send it through.
Yes, sir, right away, sir. And so I was so damn good on me, let us know.
This is your last warning, insects.
Relinquish what remains of the Allspark.
So who's the insect? You? What? Who's the insect?
Protect you. They were defeated on our world, and we will defeat them here.
This was just a diversion. Security, please bring up. Rabbit, she's already inside. Deeds! Give me an update on that reserve. Boss readiness. What was his name? What was it?
Evac, sir.
Right, evac.
She's right in front.
We're facing a heavy sustained attack. They appear to be after the Allspark. General! General! National security advisor! Stay down! Pushing it out! There is a celebration! The amateurs are suicide mission!